Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Maat. I'm here today with my big brother, Baba Amin, to talk
Peace.
about the HBCU bomb threats. I know a lot of you have been hearing that HBCUs are being targeted. They're receiving bomb threats. Yesterday, it was Howard and Morehouse and Bowie. Today, it was Morgan. It was Coppin. So several of our
Mm,
HBCUs have been receiving bomb threats. And so I called my big brother this morning. I was feeling some type of way about it.
right.
And I said, Baba, we got to go live and talk about this. We got to really unpack
Absolutely.
this. And so Baba started saying things. I started saying things. And I said, can you come on at 7 p.m.? And Baba said, I'll be there. So Baba, go ahead and
Absolutely.
introduce yourself to the listening audience, please.
All right. Peace and power, family. I am Baba Amin Ojuwoke. I am co-founder of the UHURU Academy, along with my beautiful wife and Koyo Ojuwoke, husband, father of 8, and been engaged in the act of empowering our youth for a little bit over 30 years now, Yeah. And still
Mm-hmm.
a beast on the mic, too, if I might say so myself.
Hold on, Baba. Baba, when you say a beast on the mic, are we talking about rhyming or like
Oh
MCing
yeah,
or
yeah. I'm an elder in the hip hop generation. You know what I'm saying? We get old, but we don't get bad. We don't ever start. you know,
we
you know
just
what I'm
get
saying? We don't
better?
get whacked. We get older. We don't get whacked though. So yeah. So we still do political and conscious hip hop from time to time. It's just an honor. We're just out here doing our job.
Absolutely. And I salute you and your beautiful compliment for all the work that you all have been putting in.
Give
Definitely,
thanks. Give
definitely,
thanks. Give thanks.
definitely. I want to
It's an honor
salute.
to be here.
Yes, yes, yes. Look, it's an honor to have you. And brother CJ Young, I see you are in the building. Sister, a beautiful mind. Africa the Great, brother Omar Reed, Bars and Chains, New Black
I
World
say
Order is in the building. Another one of my big brothers, Baba Donald, he's in the building. The
I
Queen,
say
readings by Kali, she's in the building. So peace to everyone who has joined us, and peace to the people who will be listening to this in the archives. All right. And so you see the title, family, HBCU bomb threats, HBCU bomb threats, the black check, right? The black checking of university students and faculty, right?
mm,
The black checking
yeah,
of university students and faculty. So let me show
right.
you something, family. This morning, I received a telephone call from one of my cousins whose son attends Morgan. I teach at Morgan, but he attends Morgan, and an alert went out, okay, to people who signed up for MSU alerts. Baba, I don't sign up for alerts because I don't need MSU sending
Sure.
me text messages all day. So I didn't get the alert, but
Yeah, say
it went out
alert.
to,
We're having green beans for lunch. You don't want all. You don't want
I
all
don't want
those,
all
right?
of that. So
Okay.
so I didn't get the alert on my cell phone,
hmm
but her son who attends Morgan, he got the alert. He sent it to her. And so I went and I checked my Morgan email, and I'm gonna share it with the family. Morgan probably be mad that I'm sharing it with the family, but I'll share it with the family. So I received an email that says, and you see my little logo in the corner. So yes, I really do teach at Morgan, right? Okay. So it says campus alert. Due to the emergency situation, all instruction is remote and employees should telework. And so they say right here, look at this, access to campus closed as bomb threat
Threat
is
is evaluated.
evaluated.
Wow.
So it says campus alert due to a bomb threat that was received. Access to the campus will be closed as the university works with emergency personnel to assess the situation. Everyone on campus should shelter in a place until further notice. Today, all instruction will be remote and all employees shall telework. Essential employees will be contacted by their supervisor with additional direction. And so,
Mm,
of course, students, Baba, started reaching out, and they were like, what's going on,
right.
doc? Their students are sending emails, they're panicking
Right.
because our campus, like a lot of HBCU campuses, are open. So when you
Mm,
go into our campuses, you may need to swipe to get into a dormitory, but to
right.
get into the student center and the lecture halls, classrooms, the different
Right.
schools, School of Engineering, School of Science, School of Math, School of Humanities, you can just walk in, no
Right.
ID, no
Yeah.
swipe or anything, versus Baba, the PWIs, where, of course, because they have more resources, they can
hmm
invest, they can beef up security. So in a lot of those
Right.
PWIs, you can't just walk on, well, you can walk onto the campus, but you need a swipe to get
Yeah.
into
But there are certain
schools and certain,
areas, yeah, it's more
absolutely.
restricted as far as
But
where you can go.
it's not like that at HBCUs.
Mm,
Anybody can come on campus. And so a lot of students, they were saying, well, okay, it was a bomb threat today, but what if we go back tomorrow and it's something that was undetected? So a lot of them
right,
are extremely nervous about
right.
coming back. So
Justifiably so.
absolutely, Bob. I mean,
Mhm,
I couldn't knock that. So once I found out that we received a death threat, a bomb threat, I'm sorry, I said,
mhm,
well, let me do a little bit of research. And so I Googled, because I was told by my cousin that they were targeted HBCU. So I just Googled
right.
HBCU bomb threats. And so here's a CNN report, family, that says that after more than a dozen HBCUs get bomb threats on the first day of Black
Yeah.
History Month, students and
Mm,
staff express unease and dismay. All
yeah.
right. So it says a growing number of historically, and I'm not going to read the whole article, family, but it says a growing number of historically Black colleges and universities have had to lock down or postpone classes due to bomb threats on the first day of Black History Month. At
Mm,
least 14 HBCUs reported bomb threats Tuesday. At least one of them, Howard University, also received a bomb threat on Monday. In some instances, local police and sheriff's departments were responding to the threats. In other cases, campus police were handling the response. U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona called the threats disturbing and said
mhm,
they would not be tolerated. And so he gives his statement. He says, my team will continue to work with students, faculty, and alumni to make sure HBCUs continue to be a safe place for students to learn. Well, how about beefing up the security? For
right,
one, giving
right, definitely.
HBCUs more resources, to,
Right.
to beef up the security. So Coppin
Mhm.
was one. Okay, it says Coppin University, Coppin State University, Jackson State
Jackson
University,
State. Mhm,
Mississippi Valley State University, Morgan State University,
mhm.
um, Alcorn State University, Tougaloo College, Kentucky State University, Fort Valley
Fort
State
Valley.
University,
Howard.
Howard,
Mm,
Xavier, the
yeah.
University District of Columbia. Spelman was on the list. Look at this
Mm,
family. Edward
mm,
Waters University, Russ College. All right, so these were the universities that received
right.
bomb threats. And so when I called you, Baba, remember I said
Yeah.
that this should be a wake-up call, for
Right.
for our Black students and for the
Right.
Black leadership at these institutions. Because
Mhm.
a lot of our students, Baba, a lot of our young students who are 18, 19, when they think of racism, when they
Right.
think of discrimination and all of that,
Right.
lynchings and killings and bombings, they think that they are far removed from this stuff.
Right.
They think
Right.
that was just in my parents' generation, my
Uh-huh.
grandparents' generation. That's not
Right.
happening to me. And so when I got my students online for virtual class this morning, I mean this
Mhm.
afternoon, I told them the first thing I said to them was, if you don't believe that
Mhm.
racism still exists and that
Right.
you yourself could be a victim of it, which you are,
Mhm.
unbeknownst to
And
you,
have been.
and have been, right? I said, then this should be your black check. This should be your wake-up call.
Mhm.
Because this is reminiscent of, even though they didn't make good on their threats, but we've been experiencing
Right.
bombings. Come on, Baba, for
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah. Yeah. It's particularly triggering a threat like this, for us, because we are a unique group here in this country. We're a group that's been targeted, since day one on this soil. To be Black in America is to experience or inherit trauma from terrorism, some
Come
form of
on.
terrorism. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's mass incarceration, that's terrorism. Over sentencing is state sanctioned terrorism, police terrorism, or police brutality, state sanctioned terrorism. And then, yes, when you talk about bombings, we instantly think of Birmingham, and we think of all the churches that have been bombed over the years, homes that have been burnt down over the years for simply for having good land, simply for working your land, and Black families being terrorized off of their land. So when you get the threats coming out today, which I look at as a threat, they said threat to HBCUs. For me, as I think about it, as I thought about it, this is a direct threat to Black youth.
Come on. Come on.
This is a threat to our children. They're threatening our children. We ain't worried about the buildings. Buildings can be replaced. they're threatening to harm our children. You know what I'm saying? Black youth. I mean, average age in college is what? You're between what, 18 and 22. These are young people, right? And so this cowardly threats like this is a continuation, you know what I'm saying, of a constant, consistent situation, or consistent sojourn, you know, in America for us as far as terrorism. And definitely it should be a wake-up call for students to sit back and just ask some questions like, why? You know, why? What happened? How did we get here? You know, why is it like this? Because there are answers to those questions that lie in our history. But I also think it's important too that we don't, and it's just so ironic that it happened on the first day of Black History Month. I think it's ironic because what it threatens to do too is shift how we give our narrative this month, from talking about our accomplishments, our potential, our future, and our greatness, to giving our story again based on what white folks have done to us. You know, we didn't begin, our existence didn't begin. We didn't start mattering when Europeans decided to pay us some attention. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's important that we also don't allow this incident to co-opt our story.
I agree. I mean, Baba, I couldn't agree with you more. Whew.
Right.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I just kind of want to go back to something you said earlier about how just the threat of it was triggering. I know that Joy
Yes.
Dugary wrote a book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And so this is one of the symptoms, because like you said, it was very triggering when you hear bomb. My mind, look, I mentioned earlier the bombing of the Birmingham church in 1963. When I was talking to my students today, I mentioned Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mentioned Wilmington, Delaware. I mentioned Rosewood. I talked about Durham, North Carolina. Even though they weren't bombed, they just created a freeway that went through the little area called Haiti in Durham, North Carolina. But like you said, my mind went back to
Wilmington, North Carolina.
I believe that didn't Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, their houses got bombed,
Yes.
fire bombed. A lot of our churches have been bombed, shot up. So like you said, it was very triggering to hear that several of our institutions received bomb threats. It was very triggering for
and we
us.
have to take those threats very seriously too, because there are groups in this country, hell, including this country itself, that hasn't hesitated to perpetuate violence against Black people. You know, and so we definitely have to take those threats serious. They have to be diligent and safe. But at the same time, I just wonder what the leadership is doing, like behind the scenes. Are are they scrambling? Are they wondering why? Who did we make mad? You know, are we out there too much? I heard one brother on the show earlier saying that maybe it's because HBCUs have been in the news a lot lately, with Dion being at Jackson State and top athletes going over there. You know, we used to kind of just be in the background. We're kind of out front too much. It's like now I wonder if there's a sense of, what did we do wrong and how do we fall back? You know, so I don't know. You know, it's just I wonder what those conversations are. A lot of HBCUs are linked to PWIs. You know, and so what's that conversation right now? You know, is it, hey, yo, we need more protection, or is it like kind of like, hey, call your cousin, tell them stop making bomb threats? You know what I'm saying? Hey, y'all know who did it. You know what I'm saying? Are they helping with the investigation? Let's see how fast, you know what I'm saying, we're able to find out who's actually making the threats, because that's not impossible to do.
And you know what, Barbara? It just disturbs me because I'm listening to what you said. You said you were watching a show earlier, and you said it was a brother, I'm assuming, who was talking, and you said that the brother made the statement that, well, maybe this is happening. You know, just brainstorming, saying, well, maybe this is happening to us because we've been out in the forefront as of lately, right? But in listening to you say that, my mind went back to a black bank like in the 1800s, maybe late 1800s, early 1900s. And they were funding different projects. And someone within that, on the staff or the part of the bank's staff, they said, well, we don't want to build our buildings higher than white people because we don't want them to feel like they would want to come in. Basically, we don't want to flaunt ourselves in front of them because we know how to. But that was a century ago. Almost, you get what I'm saying? So it's like
Yes, yes,
we
but
literally still
that
have
was
to
definitely the
worry.
vibe that I was getting listening to that, and I think that's still there, But when you look at, even if you look at the founding of Tuskegee by Booker T. Washington, there were a couple of schools of thought, and it's a school of thought that kind of pit Booker T against W.B. Du Bois. Was with Booker T and the white supporters, they had that promise that he came through a black school system that said you learn menial jobs, that you focus on vocations and trades. Not that vocations and trades are lesser, but there was a certain plateau that black education was supposed to provide. And when Booker T agreed to that, then he was able to get a lot of support. But then you had another movement with W.B. Du Bois that was like, no, we want to teach the high sciences. We want to teach engineering. We want to get into some of the higher sciences and the humanities in that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? And so there's always been monitoring and a cap on the level of education that black people receive. It's always been like that and hasn't changed. I had a young man that's a junior in high school, a public high school here in South Carolina, talked to me today, and he was saying, my English teacher, she told us a little bit about the civil rights movement today. And then she said, man, I really wish I could teach y'all our history, but it's just limits and places where we can't go. That was today.
And so as
That
much
was
as
today.
so
And this was a
Bobby,
95% black high school in
no,
an
I believe you.
89% black town.
I believe you. I believe you, Bible. But it's they always say it's nothing new under the sun. So it's like they say the more things change, the more things
Well, they stay
remain
the
the same. The more they
same.
remain the
Yeah.
same. But I'm glad that you brought up other groups, and I just want to share my screen with the family again. Family, check this out. So here's a report that came out. Okay, it says there's been a surge in white nationalism. Surge in white nationalism ramps up violence threat. See,
Yeah.
we playing around, Baba. And while people playing around, these folks are training, they're plotting, and they're planning.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But we playing around. All right. So it says surge in white nationalism ramps up violence threat. So look at this in Silver Spring, Maryland. A recent surge in white nationalism in the U.S. has led to a growing threat of violence by factions that embrace bloodshed and advocate for a race war, according to a report released Wednesday by an organization that tracks far-right extremists. The Southern Poverty Law Center's annual report on extremist groups said its count of white nationalist groups has risen 55% over the past 3 years, from 100 in 2017 to 148 in 2018 to 155 in 2019. Many of these white nationalists are embracing accelerationism, a fringe philosophy that promotes mass violence to fuel society's collapse. Mass violence. So bombing somewhere, shooting up campuses, all of this is a part of
warfare.
Come on, biological warfare. All of this is a part of white nationalism.
Yeah.
Okay. So while we playing around and learning the different TikTok dances and watching Housewives of Atlanta and hip hop New York, hip hop love, or what's it called? Love Hip Hop New York, or something like that.
Yeah.
Love and while we playing, while we doing all of that, this is what's happening, family. This is what's happening, family. Baba, go ahead and chime in.
And I'm just saying, we have to be aware. We have to be aware. And we have to take measures to protect ourselves, measures to protect our children. We have to look at ourselves more as a group. I think it's time to kind of get away from this individualistic philosophy. You know what I'm saying? Strength and safety comes in numbers. Strength and safety comes in ownership. We need to call for some mass migrations. It's time to take over some places politically and economically, you know what I'm saying, while we're here, right? And so we have to look at this thing holistically, because when we're raising our children and we're helping them plan their vision for the future, that vision has to coincide with what everybody else is doing, right? And they have to be made aware, well, this is going on over here. This is what the so-called fringe is doing. And you'll see that the fringe ain't that much different than the state. I mean, we live in a white nationalist country. You know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we
No,
do.
we
We
do.
live
No,
in
we
a
do. That's a
traditionally
fact.
white
That's a
nationalist
fact.
country. So when white nationalists say this is my country, there is truth in what they're saying. When they say you're taking over my country, for them, you taking over is just getting half of what they get. You know what I'm saying?
But
So we have to understand that whole mentality, that sense of losing ownership, that's fueling that movement, that fear of losing ownership, that fear of revenge, that fear of people getting even for past evils, you know, that's always permeated within the white community. And so, you know, when people like, you know, Trumps and folk and Biden and all, they politicize that stuff, and they attempt to use the minds of the people within these movements, you know, to move the needle in society. And a lot of times we're the collateral damage.
absolutely. Just want to acknowledge my aunt is in the building. Segment. I see
Okay.
Donna. Yeah, I see Donna Bell is in the building. Omar Reed. Everything is everything. Our brother Rich Ross. He's in the building.
What's up,
New Black.
Preem?
New Black World Order. The young warrior. The young warrior Ryan. He's in the building. I see
Right.
that Shango 67 is in the building.
I say.
Yeah. And Queen, I just saw you. Queen, where are you? Pure Black is in the building, and Queen Cheetah. So I see
I
some
say.
people
I
have
say.
joined us. Thank you so much
That's
for
what's
joining
up.
us. Peace and love. Peace and love. And so, Bob, I wanted to
Mhm.
share my screen again. Oops, I didn't took Baba off the screen. Hold on, Baba. Where you at?
Right.
There we go, Baba. Baba said, "Hold on." She didn't took me off the screen. And so someone had mentioned Shango 67 in the chat, said,
Mhm.
"Doc, they just had a Nazi protest." I already had the article locked and loaded. And so my
Right.
mom was telling me about this earlier. So look at this. Nazi protests held over the weekend, condemned in Florida. So, more than a dozen self proclaimed Nazis yelled anti Semitic slogans outside of a Florida shopping plaza and waved the swastika flag from a highway overpass before authorities broke them up over the
Mhm.
weekend. The demonstrators, wearing Nazi garb, protested at an intersection near the University of Central Florida on
Distraction.
Saturday and on a highway overpass on Sunday. During Saturday's demonstration, some
Mhm.
participants got into a fight with a passerby, but no arrests were made, and an investigation is ongoing, according to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Authorities from the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol said in a statement that they and sheriff deputies had disbanded the group on the overpass Sunday. And they say it's against the law to obstruct the highway traffic or hang signs. So they getting all of that. And it says Orange County Sheriff said any reports of criminal activity by the group would be investigated by blah, 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 blah.
Blah
And
blah
so
blah blah.
you know exactly, Bob. It's like blah blah blah
Right.
blah blah. It's
Right.
just, you know, I share these types of articles with our people, particularly our
Right.
youth, so that they can understand the character and the
Mhm.
psychology of the people we're dealing with.
Right.
I don't
Right.
think they I don't
Right.
think they
And,
get
and
it.
and that it doesn't start or end on that freeway with 14 white people. You know, that the Nazis on the school board. The
Come on,
Nazis
come on,
the Nazis are shaping curriculum. The
come on.
Nazis are the ones
Are
that
your
create.
teachers? Are your
Your
teachers?
teachers,
Your
you know what I'm saying,
doctors?
whether they call themselves that or not, your doctors, because Western philosophy is that is this. We live in a white, you know, what the so-called white supremacist society. You know what I'm saying? And so it doesn't start with those little Nazis on the street. But that's a distraction. You know, that's a distraction. When I see them on the street, I'm like, nah, the decision is being made inside the state house, right?
Come on,
And
come on.
it benefits the Nazis in the state house when they got you thinking that those are the Nazis outside. So you think your picture of a racist white person is somebody with a hood on or somebody with a Hitler outfit on, right? But when the racist, you probably voted for the racist. You probably voted for the white man that hates you the most, right? I mean, look at us. We voted for somebody who increased the percentage of black people in prison by over 200% with a crime bill. He's a president now. you know.
Baba, come
And
on,
so
Baba. You're a fire. You're a fire, Baba. Go
I'm
ahead.
just saying. I'm just saying. So a lot of those are diversions. You think that's the one that's coming at you, but they're coming at you with policy. And HBCU students, particularly those that are on campus that don't even have a Black Studies program, right? You need to understand that many of us have been trained to take our talents and just go work for white people, to go work for white-owned businesses, to go work for the system and begin to perpetuate the same systemic racism, what I'm saying, that dogged our parents. Now you're the caseworker that's looking at Black people when they come into your office like they lazy and just need to get off their butt to work. You went from being one of them Black people knowing that we hard working and poverty's a bitch and I'm just trying to come up and I'm gonna make it. But somehow you went through a college system and you came out of it, and now you look at the folk in your old neighborhood like white people look at the people in your neighborhood, and you have the
Facts.
same mentality and the same attitude. That's terrorism. A
It
lot of us
is.
become de facto terrorists as a result of the miseducation. Oh, it is Black History Month. Dr. Carter G. Woodson, miseducation of the Negro. And
Mm.
we're still dealing with miseducation. So after we find who threatened to drop the bomb, let's go after the people who are really dropping these mental bombs on our children's minds every single day.
Every single day. And Baba, Baba, you said so much. I just want to take a piece of what you said a little early. You mentioned how our children, or average Black people, they think that the racist white people, or like you said, the Nazis outside with the hoods, but not
Right.
looking at the people, like you said, who are creating policies that adversely impact the Black community. And then you said we voted one in. I wanted to unpack that. I
Yeah.
said, wow. I said the media is so powerful. I mean,
Mhm.
I remember our beloved ancestor Malcolm X said that the media is a powerful tool. The media will make the innocent look guilty and the guilty look innocent. So I
Mhm.
sat back. I started, on the media, they kept pushing. We got to get Trump out of office. We got to get Trump out of office. And I'm no fan of Trump. I don't want anyone to take this
Right.
clip
Right. Me
and
either.
say that Dr. Maat is a fan of Trump.
Yeah.
I'm just recapping
Yeah.
what happened,
It's
rehashing what
okay
happened.
and possible to not like either one of them. It really
Exactly,
is.
exactly. It is really is, because as soon as I start talking bad about Biden, then people assume that, oh, she must be
Right.
a Trump supporter.
Right.
I don't support either one of those crackers.
Right.
So,
And that's
so
okay.
and that's okay. And so
Yeah.
they kept saying we got to get Trump out of office, and this is what the media was pushing. And so then,
Mhm.
Bible, before you know it, Black folks in your family, your friends, people around you started saying, we got to get Trump out of office. We got to get Trump. I said, golly, they sound like the commentators on the television. Oh, we,
Right.
we got to vote Biden. And Black people went out in record numbers and
Oh yeah.
voted for Biden. Like you said, Baba,
Mhm.
despite this is the guy that passed the 1994 crime bill
Right.
and locked up thousands of Black men and women.
Millions. Yes.
Yeah, millions. Yeah, knocked up millions of Black men and women, destroyed millions of Black families. Not only did he do that, he also in 19, I believe it was 1977 1976, he
Right.
said, I don't want my children getting on the bus. I don't want to desegregate the bus. He said it's going to create a racial jungle. So he didn't even
Yeah.
want your damn children riding on the
Right.
bus with his children. And this is
Right.
who you
Right.
voted for. This is who you cast your vote for.
Right.
And then
Right.
you
We're
had
so
Kamala.
forgiving.
Yeah, we
We're
so
so
forgiving.
forgiving,
Then
aren't
you
we?
got Kamala over there in California locking up Black people, Black
Right.
parents,
Mm.
advocating for
Mm.
the death
Right.
penalty, even though it was proven
And
that
getting caught up in false arrests.
yeah, she was
And
getting
getting
caught up in
caught up.
yep,
Yes.
false
Mm-hmm.
arrests. She was
Mm-hmm.
advocating for the death penalty, even though it was proven to be I think biasly applied. So she got caught up with that, the truancy laws, locking up Black parents. And then they both became the face of racial equality and equity. How did that
That's where we
happen,
are.
Baba?
That's where we are right now, and again, when they have you saying you're either blue or red, right? You either Crip or blood, you're either Democrat or Republican, either blue or red. One group like Black people, one group don't like Black people. You stop reading policy, you stop asking questions, and they say, even though this is a democracy, you got to vote for either one or the other group. There are no other choices. Ain't nothing else on the menu. Nothing else on the menu. You either gonna vote either blue cookie or you're gonna eat a red cookie. There's no other cookie. Now, these other cookies over, don't pay attention to them cookies. Nobody eats those cookies, right? Right. And don't bake your own cookie either. You got to be on this side or that side. And one thing you heard from a lot of people were, I'm going with the lesser of two evils. Well, let's sit back and talk about why
oh,
we dealing with two evils. What can we talk about that for a minute?
let's
Let's
talk
talk
about that,
about the
Baba.
mentality that it takes to sit back and say, well, you know what? I have to choose somebody evil. Let me see who's the less evil of the two. Is that freedom? I'm just wondering, is there something better? You know what I'm saying? So we have to look at that. We said it. We said it. Black folks, everybody I was talking to, like, I'm picking the lesser of two evils. So you know he's evil. You know he's not a friend. Okay, all right, but he's less of our friend than Trump. You say he's more, Trump is even less of our friend than him. Neither one of them are friends, but one is more of an enemy than the other. But they're both enemies. Basically, that's what we're saying when we say lesser of two evils, you know. And so here we are. You get a limited menu because we're also given a limited education, you know, where we really don't understand the power of the people. They say this is a government by the people, for the people, but the people are not taught how to be powerful. That's not taught in this country.
Not at
At
all.
all. We are not really taught that, you know, and that's why we're so amazing as African people, for people to come over here and have to first prove we're human beings. We weren't even fighting for equal rights in the beginning. In the beginning, we were fighting to be acknowledged as humans. Okay, we went from a fight for our humanity, then to a fight for citizenship, equal rights, equal protection, that sort of thing, right? And who has moved the needle in this country more than Black people? Who has come from lower depths and status in society over the past 400 years on this side of the earth? You know what I'm saying? Who's had to dig out of a deeper hole than Black people have had to dig out of?
That's a fact, Baba. That's
a fact.
Nobody.
That's a fact. Nobody. You know, and so that's a testimony to the power that people have, and Black people are proof that even without citizenship, even without having your humanity acknowledged, right? We are proof that if you persevere, if you stick in there, if you hang in there with your culture, if you just come together somewhat, even without our history, we're proof that you can move the needle in a society when you unify.
Oh, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely a fact. That's
Absolutely
absolutely
true.
Let me ask you a question, Bob. Let's unpack this just for a second. And I know that tonight's not about voting. We talked about the HBCU bombs, but I do want to talk about this for a little bit. What are your thoughts, Bob, when people shame you into voting, when they try to shame brothers and sisters into voting by saying, you know, our ancestors died for you to have the right to vote?
Yeah,
You know,
I always respond instantly. No, my ancestors died for freedom and liberation. They died for land and education. That's what my ancestors died. That's what they were sacrificing for. You know, the vote is just a tool when you're in the right situation to consolidate your power, your political power. But it's a
I like
tool
when you said that, when
we
you're
have
in
to,
the right situation. Keep going, Bob.
when you're in the right situation, because there are situations where your vote does not help you, regardless of where you vote. You know, if you come in front of me, if you stand on one side of me with a sledgehammer, and somebody else on the other side of me with an aluminum baseball bat, and y'all both gonna hit me in the head, and you say which one you want, the bat or the sledgehammer, I lose regardless. Right? And so when people try to shame you into voting, you know, that's someone who either know our history, but they're manipulating you, or they're just regurgitating the history that they were taught in school. Right? Because our ancestors didn't die for the vote. Our ancestors died for freedom, for land, for education. So what I tell people is, that's cool. If you're passionate about the vote, that is great. But why are we not that passionate about land ownership anymore? Why aren't we shaming each other back to the land? Why aren't we shaming each other into entrepreneurship? Why aren't we shaming each other, you know what I'm saying, to do things that give us power, not inclusion?
Come on.
You
say that one more time, Baba. Say that one more time, Baba. I didn't hear you say,
why shaming ourselves into doing things that bring power instead of inclusion? Right? Why you won't shame your white liberal friends to stop building freeways down the middle of the Black community? Why we can't shame our so-called allies to make an investment in our community where we own the stores in our community. Look out for us. Give us the tax break. Why you can't shame your allies into reparations?
Mm.
Why we
Mm.
carry all the shame? All of a sudden, if I don't vote, I'm betraying my ancestors. Who are you betraying when you don't tell your people the whole truth?
Mm.
Who are
Mm.
you betraying? Are you not betraying the ancestors? When we're not educating our children to own, when we're not teaching our children their history, you know what I'm saying, before 1619, you're not betraying your ancestors. You're betraying every ancestor that lived before slavery when you do that.
Come on. Come on.
So
Come
you
on.
can't shame me for not voting. You can't shame. You don't be ashamed if you don't vote, especially if you abstain politically and you know why you're abstaining politically. We have so many other things. If you just want to carry some shame, why you're not brave enough to go down to the school board and demand that our children learn our true history? Why you're not ashamed of that?
Mm-mm.
Or even when we get bomb threats on our HBCU campuses, are we not ashamed that where the troops at? Where our troops at?
They're not going to go nowhere. They
Where's our
not
security? Where
right.
they at? Hey, a lot, and I'm gonna throw this out there. A lot of people
Come
sure
on.
was marching in their black suits and their guns, marching against police terrorism, but they weren't marching against the police. They were just in a march. But we're a black militia.
We're
I
the
know a
black
couple of
militias.
campuses from a black militia. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
come on, man.
I mean,
I'm just
but you right though, Bob. I mean, like you said, we're the black militia saying we're going to go to every HBCU, or we're going to show up, show out. Where's everyone? You know
right.
what's
You
going to
know what I'm
happen,
saying?
Baba? We're going to be right back at the HBCUs tomorrow. I'm telling you, Baba. I
Right.
literally got an email this afternoon that said, "All clear. We checked the campus. See you tomorrow." You
See
think
you
that
tomorrow. It's all clear.
the parents are going to be outraged? Anyone's going to show
Mhm.
up on the HBCU campus tomorrow?
Yeah. And
No.
man, my prayer, y'all, and don't get it twisted. I love HBCUs, right? I love any place where black people are gathered and thinking, because even though a lot of the curriculum might be Eurocentric, there's so much black culture on HBCU campuses. You know what I'm saying? And we need spaces where our children can go and learn and think, right? And what I don't want this to become is another deterrent for our
Mm,
children to not go to HBCUs. You understand what I'm saying? I mean,
absolutely.
there are
Absolutely.
people who benefit from HBCUs being in trouble. And if HBCUs bounce back, that's going to hurt some people's money. Black failure is big business.
Say that again, Baba.
Black failure is big business, and Dion have already got these young studs coming out of high school, attempting to launch an HBCU renaissance by taking their athletic skill to HBCUs. And don't get it twisted, college sports is $1 billion industry.
Absolutely.
Division I
Absolutely.
college sports is $1 billion industry. And I guarantee you that these large PWIs ain't trying to lose no running backs, no quarterbacks, or no wide receivers to the little HBCUs. And if I can make a HBCU look a little bit more dangerous, if I can make like, oh, y'all stepping out of line, if I can scare y'all into stepping back and tone down all that black excellence talk with a phone call, perhaps I'll do that.
Mm. So it's like the plot thickens, Baba. So we might, is it racism? But like you said, what's the motive? And so
Is
I
it
can't wait until
capitalism?
they
Because it could be
right. What is it?
capitalism too. It don't have
Absolutely.
to be the redneck. Go we visiting the redneck. I'm gonna blow up the school. That's what we're visiting. That's what we're envisioning, right?
Right.
But there could be so many layers to it. It could be they're regaining popularity. It could be
Mhm.
right now. Can we afford an HBCU in the information age? You know what I'm saying? To get popular among black youth. Can we really afford that? Will we be able to control them if they grow?
Mm.
And so what can we do to deter? Because they're starting to look attractive. What can we do to deter young people from flooding HBCUs?
Let's put them
Right?
in the news. Let's give them
Yeah,
bad
let's
press.
put them in the news. Let's give them
Mhm.
bad press. Bomb threats. Somebody call them. I'll do it. It's just bomb threats. Just a phone call. You know, a bomb threat is just a phone call, right? And of course, we don't own a lot of these institutions. We don't have ownership. We have a measure of institutional control when it comes to historically black colleges and universities. I would like them to get mad and say, you know what, they're gonna blow us up. We might as well teach the truth. We might as
Come
well go
on,
all out. We might as well double
Baba.
down on it.
Come
Let's
on.
double down on it.
Come on, but you know why? You know why they won't, Baba? What's the sad reality? It's because of the funding. You know, a
Right.
lot of these institutions, a lot of our
Mhm.
HBCUs, as well as Morgan State University,
Right.
they depend
Right.
on state funding. Coppin
Yes.
State University, Bowie State University. You know, a lot of them depend on, state money. You know,
And
even
see, and
your
that's
Mhm.
where the people have to stand up, and that's what, because state funds mean your funds. State funds
Technically,
mean
yeah, technically,
technically
yeah.
state funds, state money means your money.
Mhm.
And
But
that's
then
what
it's
we have.
but then the way
Yeah,
it's spent is controlled by
yes, it is.
politicians that
Yes, it
we
is.
say that we
Yes, it
voted
is.
in there, but
Uh-huh.
who don't really have
Uh-huh.
an interest in
Uh-huh.
us.
At all, because all you have to do is put black faces in traditionally white spaces, and we feel like we've gotten what we were promised with the vote. Just like Biden is about to put a black woman on the Supreme Court, and now he's historic. He's the new Abraham Lincoln, and you can't criticize him for all the other promises that they break. And
Absolutely.
it's a tactic, and again, the prayer is that this is a wake-up call for HBCU students, to become more aware of what's going on around you, right? And to really get hungry for that knowledge, because you love your college, right? You fall in love
Absolutely.
with your college, you fall in love with your school, and you want it to be here, right? And I would love to see our children get more engaged in the politics and economics behind the institutions
That's right.
that we fall in love with.
That's right. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, Baba. Like you said, the economics in the politics. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you, the more and more you get involved in the HBCU, you see it's a lot of politics,
That's a lot of
that you have
politics,
to, yeah,
politics.
absolutely. A lot of politics, a lot of
Yes, it
power
is.
tricks.
Yeah, a
Absolutely.
lot of politics, man. So this is a very interesting development. On the surface, like I said, it looks like it's a deterrent. You know what I'm saying? White nationalists, or somebody's mad and want to do damage to HBCUs, not necessarily physical damage, but
But just the
probably,
reputation,
yeah, just the
of
reputation.
HBCUs.
Yeah, exactly. So on the surface, let's make it a place where people are scared to go. And usually if they tell you that you should be scared to go there, it might be something going on there that you need to see. And so that was part of my thoughts too. It was that, well, what are HBCUs doing? Because usually cooperative Negroes are safe. Usually,
What you say?
yeah.
Usually the black
Usually,
collaborators.
yeah, the
Usually
black
the
collaborators are
black
usually
collaborators are
safe.
safe.
What y'all getting into? Y'all starting to teach blockchain on them campuses? What are y'all teaching? What's going on? What's the wave? What's happening behind the scenes? Are HBCUs a threat? I'm curious now. I'm curious. I
Right.
know a great deal of our quote unquote leadership come out of HBCUs. A great deal of the black middle class come out of historically black colleges and universities. But traditionally, particularly over the last 40 years or so, that's just been a brain drain on the black community that has fed the white community,
Yes, it
right?
has.
And
They
all you got
come
to do
right
is go
there.
look at the black community, because what were we raised to do? Grow up, get an education, and get as far away from the hood as you can. I
That's
was
a
pulled to the
fact.
side by my teachers in an all black school, told, man, you smart. You know what? You can get out. And
Mm,
that's what I was told. You can get out. So my neighborhood was prison. So
mm.
you could get out. It was something to get out of, not something to invest in. So we
Right.
got out. And then the Asians and Arabs came in. They didn't move in. They just set up shop, literally set up shop, right? And gain. I mean, it's been generations of wealth. They've garnered generational wealth inside of the same neighborhoods that we grew up in and we were told to get away from and
That's a
never
fact,
invest in.
Baba.
That's
That's
the
a
fact.
fact. That's one of my and I want to say this. That was one of my biggest criticisms of the
Mhm.
baby boomers. I love the boomers. I want to just say that. I love the baby boomers because I
Mhm.
feel like that was the first generation who actually were college educated. Not, I'm not saying that all of them were, but they were
Right.
more educated than their parents. Typically, like our grandparents or their parents, they were
Mhm.
domestic workers,
Right.
or agricultural workers. And so they, they worked on farms. Like my grandmother shared with me, my grandmother had a sixth grade education, and
Mhm.
she stopped at sixth grade and she was pulled out of school to work on a tobacco farm. She would say, how we say tobacco. We don't say tobacco,
Right.
we
Right.
tobacco. She
Right.
had to work on
Okay.
a
Back
tobacco
and forth.
farm.
Yeah.
And so she was able to go up to the sixth grade. And when you talk to other brothers and sisters in the community, they'll tell you a lot of our grandparents had, fourth grade education, fifth grade education, sixth grade education. Some finished school, some very very rare did everyone finish high school. It wasn't like that
Right.
was a common thing back
Right.
then.
Well, a
But
lot
the
of times it
boomers,
wasn't available. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't available. But then you
Uh-huh.
had the boomers who came through.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
boomers, they finished high school, they went to college. And so the boomers were like that first generation of, I guess you would say, highly educated
Mhm.
black people. But you know
Mhm.
what the boomers said? I'm getting out. I'm leaving
Right.
out. They
Right.
left Baltimore City and they said, I'm moving into the suburbs. I'm
Right.
moving into Woodlawn and Randallstown and so and so.
Mhm.
I'm getting
Mhm.
out of,
Yeah.
I'm leaving Baltimore and Mount Street. I'm
Right.
leaving such and such. I'm leaving. I'm going out here.
Right.
I'm going to get
They
the
were
white
the
picket
first
fence.
generation of the highly miseducated in
Mm,
the sense that they had more inclusion and access, but they were guided with that access. So yeah, we're going to
absolutely.
give you this because now we're confident that when I give you this biscuit, you're going to come share it with me. You ain't going to take it back to the community, and so the gains, because it's racism, but it's also economics, right? And so you can't
Mm,
have capitalism without a permanent underclass. So here
mm,
you are in a situation where we take over your narrative. We control the narrative on your history, saying your accomplishments are based on inclusion in our society. So when you look at Jackie Robinson being the first black man to play in the major leagues, no, he wasn't. What you're not looking at is that this is an economic attack on a $3 million black owned baseball league.
yeah, the Negro
The
Leagues.
Negro Leagues was a thriving, multi-million-dollar black-owned business that the drafting of Jackie Robinson into the major leagues basically was the death knell for the Negro League
Absolutely.
because the white man's ice cream is colder. So
Always
now
colder.
I'm celebrating Jackie getting spit on and slid into with cleats. Hang in there, Jackie. But we're not screaming, hang in there, Kansas City Monarchs, because when y'all travel, you're playing your games on black owned land and in black towns. You're creating an economy, right? And so
Absolutely.
that baby boomer generation had more access, but it was access with a catch.
Mm.
It was access with a plan that, you know what, we didn't come off the civil rights movement, this
The
black power movement.
Black Power
You got
movement.
you got little kids, black kids from the ghetto, known all over the world for fighting oppression. The Black Panther Party, right? So the greatest threat to the national security of the United States, not 100 years up from slavery. Okay, and now y'all want inclusion. All right, we need to get in their head. We need to make sure that the best and brightest come to us. Make inclusion, make Black history about
Mm.
inclusion.
Mm. And that's what it was. That's what it was.
Mhm.
So they were the most educated, but then, like you
Jefferson
said,
moved
the
on up
most
to the east side.
miseducated. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they were the most
Absolutely.
educated, but the most misguided. Let's put it like
Misguided.
that.
There we go. There we go. I would still say miseducated though. They were the most I
Miseducated.
mean,
Being
I know it's
misguided
kind of
is a
like,
part of being
yeah,
miseducated, right?
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So where are you aiming your skills and talents? Yes, you come get this degree, you come get this knowledge. What are you going to do with it when you get it? And let me demonize your own community to you and say your community is the problem. Your community is why you're in poverty. Now come work for the people who are the real reason that your community is in poverty.
Baba. Oh, I think he froze. Hold on. There you
Oh,
go, Baba. You froze for a
oh,
little
okay.
bit.
Yeah,
You
yeah. So
froze.
I'm just saying, it's the ghetto, it's those other blacks. That's what's holding you back.
That was the
You see
message.
what I'm
That
saying?
was the
So you got to
message.
get away from them and you have to accept this culture, assimilate, integrate. And those who can't do that, well, they deserve what they get. They
And
got the
that's what they
same
that's
opportunity that you have.
And Baba, that's what they did. We went from having the afros and throwing up the black fists to black
Mm-hmm.
women straightening
Mm-hmm.
our hair and putting perm in our
Mm-hmm.
hair and pile of
Mm-hmm.
makeup on. And like you said, assimilating. That's exactly what
Assimilate.
happened. That's
Right. Because
exactly
I'm
what
looking at these
happened.
afros and I'm seeing brothers talking about ownership in the 70s. Look at the 70s. Look at the end of the towards the end of the Black Power movement and that sort of thing. Look at the early 70s. I'm saying from 1970 to 1976 to the bicentennial. Look at the
Mm,
70s and look at the overarching culture. Just go look at episodes of Soul Train and see where black people were culturally, right? And then when you study what some of them were doing business wise in entertainment, in publishing, Jet, Ebony, you know what I'm saying? And
yes.
it was all about ownership. Well, we said, well, then the infrastructure said, well, let's offer them inclusion. Let's give them an illusion of inclusion. Even the black exploitation movies used to be about black superheroes that was beating up white drug dealers in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a whole different vibe. And then all of a sudden that vibe changed at the bicentennial 1976. When you see that, then you start seeing Afros start getting curly. You start seeing disco. Ain't no Stevie Wonder them is kind of fade to the back, and you start seeing disco. And we started doing music that white people can dance to too. You know what I'm saying? By the
Mm,
time you hit the 80s, we in Jerry curls. But by the time you
mm-hmm.
hit the 80s, also you see a whole new ghettoization across America in the black community. And then by the mid 80s, you get crack cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so, so, I mean, you can look at the hell, you can look at our hair. I remember what's my brother Anthony Browder. Like Anthony Browder in the Browder File had in Exploding the Mist had a chapter called The Politics of
I
Black Hair.
talk about it. I talk about it all the time. That's why.
Right, right.
That's what made me lock my hair. Reading that chapter
Uh-huh.
when I
I
was
say,
when I was
it's like
15.
just kind of look at how black people are wearing their hair, and you can kind of tell what they're doing economically and politically. And so we got sucked into that inclusion. The Jeffersons moved on up to the east side. And I remember on the Jeffersons, every time they went to Jefferson's Cleaners, it was about some crime. So the Jeffersons they demonized the hood like a mug, you know what I'm saying? And so we all grew up with that plan to get up and get away. And even in our HBCUs, it was all about getting inclusion into white society, not a plan to go back and reinvest in black society.
That's a fact. That's a
You
fact.
got a whole PhD and can't solve the economic crisis in the black community. A
Come
whole
on.
PhD and don't know how to build a successful business inside the black community.
How
Build
about this?
you,
How about this,
huh?
Baba? How about this, Baba? A whole PhD and you can't answer the question, who am I?
Come on.
You can't even tell me who you
Can't even
are.
tell me who you are, right? And you still think that education is something that white folks invented. You still think that education is something that you had to be given.
Mm-hmm.
You don't understand how intelligent your ancestors were, even on the plantation. How the linguistic genius, you call it slave talk. Please, they were creating their own languages. We don't understand that. We don't understand the beauty because someone else controls the narrative. So all your heroes become black people who achieve something in white society. And we
Absolutely.
forget about, and Carter G. Woodson, the founder of Negro History Week, which became Black History Month.
History Month.
Ironically, when the Jerry Curl started coming in 1976, that's when the government recognized Black History Month and basically took over the narrative. Don't celebrate. They recognize it to control it. They recognize Dr. King to control the narrative of Dr. King, right? And
Mm-hmm,
so,
mm-hmm.
but Carter G. Woodson, one of the things he stressed, he put, and a lot of people think one of the things we say is white folks put it in the shortest month of the year. White folks didn't put Black History Month in February. Carter G. Woodson put Negro
Facts.
History Week in February because black folks was already celebrating Frederick Douglass and Abraham
And
Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln,
He didn't like
absolutely.
that. And he didn't like that. So he said, you know what? I'm going to co-opt this because we shouldn't be celebrating. We ain't going to go nowhere celebrating individuals. He said, we need to spend time out to celebrate us as a
Absolutely.
whole. as a
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely, Baba.
I'm sorry, I went off on a
No, I know how that is because I do
you know
that
what
with
I'm
my
saying?
family. I do that with my family all the time. Like this morning when I was talking about the bomb threats, I was talking to my younger cousin. He's 20 or 20, he just turned 21.
Yeah,
And I'm going off. And he said, are you talking to me or are you referring to something that someone else? Because I just went off, you know.
right.
So I do that too, Baba.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
just love
you
our
know,
people. We just love our people, and we're just passionate
right.
about,
And there are more
about
bombs
educating
going
our
off. Not
people.
every bomb that go off is a physical bomb.
Absolutely.
You know, we've been mentally bombed, and we have
Hmm.
so much talent, so much potential.
Spiritually bombed.
Spiritually bombed,
Hmm.
culturally bombed,
Hmm.
right? And we have to fight against that too. You know, and we
Absolutely.
have to recognize that too. We're missing out on so much potential. Young folks like to say get in the bag. We missing out on the bags. We missing out on so many bags because we haven't accepted who we are, or we having trouble accepting who we are, investing in who we are, and controlling the institutions that we make fly. I don't want to
Absolutely.
see no more black creatives make some white Italian fashion designer rich. I don't want to see that.
Absolutely,
I'm
Baba.
not interested in that. You know, I'm not clapping the next time Louis Vuitton hire a black person and give them a job. I'm not clapping for that because what I'm saying is Louis Vuitton is the standard. Man, let's
Mm.
compete.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
ain't the standard. They
And,
looking at you and
and an-
copying what you create.
and another thing, Baba, I don't applaud black first. I don't applaud
Come on.
black first when
Nah.
they say this is the first black person to attend this institution, or this is the first black person to get in this position at this company, or this is the
Right.
first black. I don't celebrate black first.
No, hell, shame on that company. And we've
Come
been here
on,
400 years. You finally hired a black person. I
come
mean,
on,
oh, we
come on,
that should trigger a boycott.
come
You know
on.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
that
better
black
not tell
first
me
crap.
it's your first one. Oh, how long you been around? Well, 82 years. Oh, damn, you just hired a black person? Yeah, I ain't never coming. I'm never
I
coming
never
back here
coming back
again.
here.
Yeah, how
But
long you
we
been in existence?
But we had to stop applauding that type of stuff.
Yes, we
Like you
do.
said, we had to stop applauding that stuff because we sit there and someone to put up a clip on social media, mean, oh, we so and so graduated the first black, and everybody's under the comment section clapping. That's
Mhm.
nothing to applaud.
No, it's nothing to applaud, especially if the collective didn't politically and economically make it happen.
Come
If we
on.
can't point to the prize, like we didn't make Barack Obama. You know, we clapping for him, but we ain't raising.
No, we didn't.
You know what I'm
We
saying?
didn't.
We didn't. He wasn't part of a collective education push in the black community where it was all about power and excellence and ownership. Because if that was the case, we would have made governors and more governors, more mayors, more senators, more. You know what I'm saying? So we claim these black first, but a lot of times the black first are just a black first at the benevolence and behest and the manipulation of a white institution.
Facts.
So and it's a distraction. And it's a distraction, and it's used as a tool to shame everybody else. It's like man. If I was an eagle and I wanted to eat some chickens, I would take one chicken and let them live on a branch with me, and I'm gonna treat that chicken so good. I'm gonna treat that chicken. I'm like, boy, when you come up here in the tree, chickens get treated real good up here in the tree. And as soon as the chickens down on the ground put their guard down, I'm gonna go down and start eating some. I'm gonna eat
Mm,
them up. Then when people say you
mm,
hate chickens, no, I don't. Look at that chicken up there.
mm,
That chicken tried to peck me. That's the only reason why I ate that chicken. That chicken doing something wrong. If that chicken would just act like that chicken, I wouldn't eat
mm-hmm.
it. So the issue ain't me. The issue is the chicken. And
Come
that's
on.
our mentality when we do these first and all that. The issue ain't them. The issue's not the system. The issue is us. If we could just act like the kind of chickens that they let live in the tree, we'll be okay.
Mm,
If
mm.
you just assimilate,
You'll
but
be
it's not
okay.
natural. So what we have to do is circle our wagons, stop apologizing for who we are, embrace who we are, and build on top of that. Because everybody trying to walk like you, talk like you, but they just don't want you.
Mm-mm. They don't want your problems. They don't
They
want your
don't want you.
problems.
Yeah, but they want they want your vernacular, they
They
want your
want your
fashion,
swag.
they want your
Yeah, they
swag, they
want all
want your
that,
words, they
but they
want
don't
all
want
of
to
that.
be in your They don't want to be in your position.
Nah, they sure don't want to be
Mm-mm.
but we can change our position.
Absolutely,
I say.
Ashe, Ashe. All right, so Baba, thank you for the powerful words. This was a powerful build. Peace to everyone who tuned in. Baba, do you have any closing words? Oh, that was the closing words. Those were your closing words.
Yeah, you know what? I want to give thanks to you, Dr. Maat, and for your consistency, for you continuing to bring information and knowledge to the people. Thank you for that. Using your platform, you bring on some of the brightest scholars. I mean, you call me to get on your show. I'm like, boy, I feel like I'm something today. I taught real good at the UHURU Academy today. I knew I was coming on with Dr. Maat tonight. It was like, Bobby, you showed teaching loud today. I'm like, oh, I'm big stuff today. What you mean? You know what I'm saying? So I just appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate every time I get to come and be a part of the platform. It's a joy, you know what I'm saying? And that's it. I just want to encourage everybody, that these are our children. It's our responsibility to educate them. Enjoy Black History Month, but study some real history, right? And from an empowerment perspective, not
That's
from the
right.
first Negro perspective. And to everyone out there who attend HBCUs, who work at HBCUs, who are connected to HBCUs, be safe, stay safe. We need you. Your people need you.
And Bob, I want to thank you. I appreciate you because every time I call you, always say, this is my big brother. Every time I call you and say, come on, Baba, you got to come on and say some words. So, Bob, I just want to pick your brain about this. Or what are your thoughts about this? So you always make yourself available to me and to the people. And I appreciate that. Every time every time you come on this platform, I walk away learning something new. So you might just be talking and I'm sitting there. Sometimes I get quiet and I'm looking at you and I say, okay. So I always, when we talk is always, how they say iron sharpens iron. And so that's what I get from you. And I applaud all of the work that you're doing in the community. I know we have our first board meeting coming up for
Yes.
Be Like a Girl. Yeah, Be Like a
Yes.
Girl. Our first board meeting is coming up. So I got to go back and look to see exact date, but I know that it's coming up. And I'm looking forward to participating as a board member. And this was created to encourage female participation in STEM or STEAM.
That's right.
And so I'm looking forward to contributing to this endeavor.
Oh,
And
hey,
so
the young
absolutely.
sister's been working hard, and shout out to Mama Kamaria Ajamu, and shout out to my wife and Koyo, for pulling this thing together, and shout out to you for getting involved, and all the other powerful sisters getting involved. Yo, man, we are beautiful people. It's some amazing
Yes.
Black folk out here, y'all. Some amazing Black folk out here doing amazing things. I pray that you're exposed to some.
Absolutely. And I'm just trying to get all of the comments in, Baba, so you can see them. A lot of people are like, thank you, Asante Sana,
Give
Dua,
thanks. Give
salute. I'm
thanks
just
to all, a beautiful mind. Dr. Maat is a gem. I agree. I agree, Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to everybody who hung out with us tonight.
Absolutely. And I want to come back on, Baba, because I forgot. I don't know if it's the senator. I might be butchering his name, but it was a senator, O'Connelly, or one of them people who basically referred to African American. He made a distinction between
Mitch
African
McConnell.
American. Mitch McConnelly. He made a distinction between African Americans and Americans, and people were upset. Like a
We
lot of
made a
people were
Freudian
upset.
slip.
Yeah, and people were upset about it, and I was like, I said I want to talk about that because he
Right. I
actually
like them
stated,
truth bombs.
yeah, I like that it was a truth bomb, and so I
Yeah.
definitely want to bring you back on, Baba, to unpack that.
Anytime.
All right,
Love to do that.
All right, family, have a super black-tastic week. Peace and love.
Black power.